So last night I was with my family in the living room looking at my phone because they were watching Tagalog stuff. It just so happens I got it at the right time. I did that at the right time because Nintendo, IGN, and several other sources have been leaking information about a potential Nintendo Switch 2 leak coming next year. And now the story gets a little bit more interesting as development kits have already been sent out. Let's have a read at several articles from of several sources, including Video Games Chronicle, IGN, and The Verge. Let's have a read because this is getting interesting. Sources: Nintendo targets 2024 with next gen console. Key partners have development kits ahead of a planned launch. Sources tell Video Games Chronicle. This was written by Andy Robinson to yesterday at 2 p.m. Let's have a read. Um, Development kits for Nintendo's next console are now with key partner studios, with launch planned for next year, sources have told VGC. According to multiple people with knowledge of Nintendo's next-gen console plans, the company is likely to release new hardware during the second half of 2024. To ensure that it has ample stock available on day one, and to avoid the kind of shortages seen with PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. We've seen that happen with those other consoles. Although specific details of the console are being kept closely guarded, those VGC those VGC spoke to I indicated that the next gen console will be able to be used in portable mode, similar to the Nintendo Switch. Two sources VGC spoke to suggested that the console could launch with an LCD screen instead of a more premium OLED screen in order to bring down cost, especially considering the increased storage needed for high fidelity games. The current Switch comes with 32 gigabytes of internal memory, while many current gen PlayStation and Xbox games are over 100 gigabytes. Like its predecessor, the new Nintendo console will also accept physical games via cartridge slot, the sources said. Other details, such as backwards compatibility support for Switch games, physical and digital, remains unclear. Nintendo has said it wants to cover as many of Switch's 100 million plus user base as possible to its next system. Although some third-party publishers said to have expressed concern that legacy support for Switch games could negatively affect sales of next-gen titles. Nintendo did not immediately respond to VGC's request for comment on the story. Tokyo-based industry consultant Dr. Dekrin Todo told VGC that a 2024 console launch would make sense for Nintendo, since it's projected to see double-digit declines in Switch hardware and software sales this year, after it cleared 7 years in the market. Quote, I would generally say that looking at Nintendo's financials, it seems clear that it's time for a new piece of hardware in 2024, he said. And he continues, hardware is already projected to fall 16.5% year on year in the current fiscal, while the minus for software is expected to hit 15.9, almost 16%. The only way to stop these prices from totally ballooning next, next fiscal is a new device. And the second half of 2024 sounds like a realistic window to me. ReedPop's head of games B2B Christopher Dring told VGC that a 2024 release would fit with Nintendo's historical trend of launching hardware mid-cycle, in quotes, compared to PlayStation and Xbox. Quote, The original Switch released over 3 years after PS4 and Xbox One, which proved to be an effective move for Nintendo. A second half 2024 release for Switch 2 would be nearly 4 years after PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. So we would see a similar mid-cycle launch for Nintendo, he said. I'd argued that unlike 2017, Microsoft and Sony consoles still feel relatively new at the moment, partially due to component shortages, slowing the rollout in the first 2 years, and software delays, meaning we're not seeing too many titles take full advantage of either PS5 or Xbox Series X. So it is to be seen whether Nintendo will enjoy the same benefit. However, the biggest competitor Nintendo faces is itself. Although its core fans are eager for more hardware, its more family-oriented casual fans will need more convincing. What will the next Mario Kart offer that they're currently not getting from the current one, for example? Nintendo has struggled to upgrade players in previous generation, so how it approaches things like digital libraries, the Nintendo account, and even backwards compatibility may prove crucial in the next system getting off to a strong start. Let's see. Here we go. If Nintendo does release the Switch's successor closer to Christmas, Ring said he expected a deeper launch lineup than we saw when we first in the first Switch, which arrived earlier in its launch year. Quote, in 2017, Nintendo spread out its releases, with a big game arriving almost every month, he said. By the time the holiday period arrived, the firm had Mario, Zelda, Splatoon, and Mario Kart, plus a number of smaller titles like ARMS and Xenoblade, to push the console over the crucial Christmas sales window. If Nintendo opts for a Q4 release next year, I expect the company to have multiple games ready to go for launch. In May, Nikeli Aiza claimed to have been informed by a source close to Nintendo that work on the company's next console appears to be going smoothly. Quote, development seems to be progressing well, they said, but a product launch won't happen before the spring next year at the earliest, end quote. And that is the article from the Video Games Chronicle. And here I do want to point out one thing about this particular article, and that is here. This is very important if you guys are Nintendo fans here, right here. It's this right here. This quote from Dring. However, the biggest competitor Nintendo faces is itself. Although its core fans are eager for more hardware, its more family-oriented casual fans will need more convincing. What would the next Mario Kart offer that they're currently not getting for the current one, for example? Because Mario Kart, as a game, is your basic racing game with items and Mario and all that good stuff. But what is new in there that we're not getting in the current Mario Kart other than different courses? The recent new courses, Wave 5, I believe, for Mario Kart 8 features 2 courses that are based in real life cities. It just so happens that one of them is Los Angeles and the other one is Vancouver. But what else are you going to offer as a Mario Kart that that's new? There's nothing new in Mario Kart to me, at least as a player, that I see that we can go for. Then we have this second quote that we need to refer to as well. This is more important than Mario Kart right here. Nintendo has struggled to upgrade players in previous generations, so how it approaches things like digital libraries, Nintendo account, backwards compatibility may prove crucial in the next system getting off to a strong start. And here's the thing about that. Reminder of what's going on in terms of like what happened. Remember that the 3DS shop, that the Wii U Virtual Store closed March 2023. That was just earlier this year. What happened to those games? They're gone, right? And there's no way to preserve them other than emulation. And things the way they do things in Nintendo Land, they don't preserve their games. And the the new shop doesn't count because remember, let's say down the line, um, I'm just gonna drum up a random year, 2032. Let's say 2032 comes around and a new Nintendo console that is not named the Switch comes into view. Let's say the Nintendo 2032, whatever you want to call it. As long as it's not called the Switch 3. That console will now, let's say the Switch lineup is over, it's done, and the digital store is about to close. Those games are gone too. So backwards compatibility and digital sales are going to be a big factor when it comes to the Switch 2. Because we want to see those games preserved for future players. That's why emulation is a thing. That's why a lot of people use emulators like Dolphin, RPCS3 or PlayStation 3 to play on computer. Then we have Nintendo account. Nintendo account, we covered a story, I believe it was a few weeks ago, talking about how Nintendo is planning to bring your Nintendo account, if the new Switch 2 happens, to the Switch 2 so that it's a more of a smooth transition for players. But remember, Nintendo itself is not known for their online gaming. They're more on their family orientated games with like Mario, Zelda, Splatoon. They're not into the online gaming portion. It's not like they are not like Xbox or PS3, excuse me, PlayStation, who dwell on that online universe. Nintendo does not as much. Yes, they do online gaming, but it's not as much as like Sony or PlayStation or Xbox. But there's more. Let's read another article and talking about this same story. This is from IGN. Nintendo reportedly plans to release next-gen console during second half of 2024. But will it support backwards compatibility, I ask IGN. And this was written by Wesley Yin Poole on July 31st, 2023 at 4:25 p.m. Let's read. Nintendo will release its next-gen console during the second half of 2024, according to a new report. Sources told VGC development kits for the announced console are now with partner studios. We just read that. With a second half 2024 release window to give enough time to ensure plenty of software launch. Apparently, this next-gen console can be used in portable mode, like the Nintendo Switch, and has an LCD screen, as opposed to an OLED screen, in order to keep costs down. It also comes with a cartridge slot for physical games, VGC said. However, the crucial question of backwards compatibility with Nintendo Switch games remains unclear. IGN has asked Nintendo for comment. In May, Nintendo said that the long-time rumored Switch successor wouldn't release until 2024 at the earliest, April. Nintendo President Santoro Furukawa explained during an investor's presentation that the company isn't considering new hardware in the 2020-2024 fiscal financial year, which ends March 31st, 2024. This comes despite a decline in Switch sales. We read this as percentages in the other article. The console sold close to 18 million units in the last financial year, down from 23 million units before and 28 million the year before that. Nintendo isn't looking to rush a new console out to tackle the decline though, as it has forecast another drop for the coming year. Quote, sustaining the Switch's sales momentum will be difficult in its seventh year, he said during the presentation. Our goal of selling 15 million units this fiscal year is a bit of a stretch, but we do our best to bolster demand going into the holiday season that we can achieve that goal. Rumors surrounding a new console have been circulating for years. The new console set was, quote, said to offer boosted graphics akin to the PS4 and its Pro model. But there is no information regarding the Nintendo next piece of hardware yet. So once again, they highlight the sales numbers in numbers rather than percentages. So last fiscal year we saw 18 million units, but that was down from 23 million and 28 million the year before that. So yes, it's going down, but as they they predicted another drop for this year, for this fiscal year, and their goal right now is 15 million. We have to see if they achieve their goal on that, but I think they will. Here's the thing. This year for Nintendo, in particular, this October, as we covered in another article talking about the upcoming games, we saw that a few games like Mario RPG, Super Mario RPG, we have Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and there's other games in that mix in October and November that are coming up for Nintendo Switch that a lot of people are looking forward to. The question will be, can Nintendo at least limit their losses this Christmas season to see a new it's going to drop no matter what, but can they limit their losses with the release of Nintendo Mario, the new Mario game, and the Mario RPG remake coming up in November? That will be a huge talking point. But that is today's articles for today. Remember, the sources are from the Video Game Chronicle and IGN. There was another version on The Verge. I'm not going to read 3 just because. And if you guys are into more gaming news, subscribe now, because we're going to have a gaming story at least one per day. And starting tomorrow, starting on Wednesdays, we're going to have our gaming news recap midweek edition on Spotify. We're also doing a full week roundup on Sundays on Spotify. So we're going to have this story, we're going to have the whatever we covered on Monday coming to the midweek, and then starting on Sunday we're going to recap the full week. That's going to be on Spotify, and I'm going to have one on YouTube as well. We'll see you guys soon for our next article. Enjoy, and we'll see you guys next time. This is RetroYuuki Gaming News, and we'll see you guys on our next gaming story.